I like it.
Yeah, and
I think it came out very nice.
Yeah,
very nice.
very, very cute.
So for a 16-year-old girl, spoiled in my opinion.
Well, she helped
completely.
design a lot of that. I
Sure.
mean, she was right in there picking things and fabrics. The only thing that I had the absolute say on was the dingle bobs.
Oh, that was your call.
I didn't know if they'd work or not. That's what, design and all that is sometimes. It's just saying, well, this is interesting. It could blend, could look awful, could look amazing. And in the end, we put it up, and I think we were both surprised how cute the little dingle bobs looked.
For me, the dingle bobs, given that I grew up in a Mexican household and
he wants an El Camino at some point before he dies. The dingle bobs along the headliner.
dingle bobs in your car is basically like a rite of passage. And the important thing is that you know your old school because at least in Tucson, so they'll start out on red at this side, but where the sun bakes it, they basically turn orangey hues of rust. And then they start to basically deteriorate on one side where the sun has basically savaged the dingle bob. But regardless.
We'll have to see how those hold up, actually.
Yeah,
now that you mentioned that.
You'll watch and see. You'll go back out there and they'll be bleached out. The sun does amazing things out there.
I hope not. Actually, they were pretty easy to add in. So it was a lot. Now, I'm sure that there are professional upholsterers who are looking at
Just
that
horrified.
cringing.
Yeah.
Cringing. I don't care. I needed to do it. I needed to do it on my budget, and I think it looks cute. So that's what that video is how to do it on your own. And some of the techniques aren't that far off from what an actual upholsterer would do. They probably just look better on the back sides.
Well, or at a minimum, though, I think the one nice thing is that it's clear you want to update it. You don't have to peel it off even. Just put some new material over and staple that on. So it seems like it's ripe for being able to refresh the whole atmosphere as need be. So
yeah.
Something
else I learned is that I need to be able to get my camera to focus better. I'm amazed how many of my still shots that seemed fine to me when I was taking them. I look at them now and I'm going, that's nowhere near focused. But it's what I had to work with.
Yeah. Well, at a minimum, I think a lot of it that it's clear that it's striking. It went from horrifying to...
It wasn't horrifying, but it was... to her it was.
Yeah, I was going to say, sitting there, you're like, this is what my life's come to. But when you get the refreshed version, it's like, no, this is actually kind of cool. It's inspirational. I think, again, we're talking about a 16-year-old girl who's in that space, first real taste of kind of independence, if you will. Mm-hmm. And to have a space that you can be proud of, that you can go home to and is comfortable and... ideally, from her standpoint, kind of sets a tone as to what her expectations can be for herself
and
also,
life.
Yeah, what
to accept,
what she should, I guess, hold out as her personal standards, if you will. So,
what do you think of the music choice?
I like the music. I like the music. Yes, very fun.
That late 70s, early 80s groove.
Very fun. The whole era there, it's funny because I was born in 76, so the whole disco thing. It's interesting, it was there, but man, that little cutoff between going from disco to new wave, the stuff that made the impact.
With punk and a whole bunch of stuff along the way.
Sure. But at least for me in my little frame of reference, once new wave hit, it's literally like you could take disco and just erase it. It wasn't until the late 80s that there was, at least in my own direction, a revitalization of disco. Because you had this convergence between the new wave with the electronic synth analog gear and then that 4/4 kick that you were used to in disco. And what'd you get? House.
And thus ends his TED Talk for the day.
So, yes, if you're a fan of house, you need all this interplay to give us this beautiful sound texture that became so important in my life. Now, I'm not a house... guy per se, but we needed house. Yeah, we needed house to evolve so that people like me had a place to rage.
You need to play your music sometime. We need to do a segment on that because I try and explain it to people, and I'm just like, it's just loud and
I think it sounds better than that personally.
Oh, I'm sure it is, but I'm not even close. I'm not even close.
But either way, so talking about kind of chaos, Let's talk about frying turkeys.
Thanksgiving!
Yes, Thanksgiving. So I talked a little bit at the introduction about deep frying a turkey. I will admit, and I say this somewhat in the video as well, moving to Appalachia, and then just kind of generally in the South, frying things takes on a rarefied kind of art. My first fried Oreo, fried Twinkie,
Yeah.
first
Fried lemonade.
Fried lemonade,
Yes.
Okay.
I've never had it, but I've seen it on a menu.
But if it's edible, it belongs in some batter and deep fried, evidently. And so when I first heard about turkeys being deep fried, I literally thought it was like a bad joke. I was like, they're out of control. Somebody needs to sit Southerners down and just have a conversation with them and say, look it, there are other ways to prepare food. But much like deep fried Oreos, I think Oreos are disgusting. I think they're gross until you deep fry them. And then I love them. I don't care what bizarre county fair I end up at. I'm going to go get some deep fried Oreos because they don't taste like Oreos anymore. They taste like this smattering of heaven has just dripped down into this batter. And when it hits your mouth, you're sold. You're sold. So as almost like a borderline goof, a friend of ours was having a yard sale. And we actually were doing a joint yard sale with them. And they were selling their deep fryer, propane kind of base with a big deep pot, and they weren't using it. And I was like, I want to try this.
Interesting hobby?
Yeah. I bought the folks that we were doing the yard sales with their deep fryer. I think I kept it for about a year before I finally had the gumption to give it a whirl. Just went online, tried to find some basic recipes, and there's some slight tweaks, and every year I'm like, okay, I'm going to do this a little different, that a little different, but more or less 5 years running now at least?
I think so, 4 or 5.
Yeah, I've gotten very serious about deep frying turkeys, and it's one of those things. It may sound bizarre. You try it.
There's no going back.
There's no going back. Having my grandmother, get up at 4 a.m. to get the turkey prepared, to put it in the oven, and she was a phenomenal cook. Very diligent, very thoughtful, patient woman. How I came from her stock, I don't know, but she is my grandmother. I will admit that.
You were the alternate genes in her world.
Yes, but the point being is that ended up still being this dry thing. Something about baking a turkey. You can, flip it upside down, put it in some juices.
I used to put mine in paper bag, in a gigantic paper bag.
There are all these tactics to do what? Keep it moist. That's it. That's the whole gig. Deep frying it is moist per se because that oil's permeating the whole bird. And there's literally nothing like it. It is a special thing.
Fries that skin so quickly. It holds the moisture.
Yeah, it does. And mind you, think about, I don't know, when you bake a bird, what's the usual cook time?
Hours. 3 hours.
Seems like
hours,
it's a very
4 hours. If it's a big bird, longer.
Yeah. So it's a long endeavor. And even then, you're kind of speculating. Mm-hmm. Deep frying it from once you have the bird prepared, which you'll see in the video isn't much, and it hits that fryer. This was a 23-pound bird, 24-pound bird, and 80 minutes, actually a little less than 80 minutes. I probably could have done it even less than that.
Yeah.
So you hit it, pull it, cut it, done. And what did I do the rest of the morning? The rest of the morning I was just kind of like laying around doing nothing. And the
oven stayed open so that we could keep baking all the things. We didn't have to do a lot.
It just was way more efficient, way more, effective way to get prepared. So that literally for us, everything kind of converged, and we all sat down, had a nice meal, and it wasn't this thing where you're just like weary, so that by the time you're sitting down, you're like burnt out from everything you had to do to get ready for it. Yeah. So Either way, I highly recommend it. You'll see in the video kind of my process. Obviously, you can personalize this however, and I'll offer some kind of suggestions at the back end of the video, even from things that I learned from this go around. Each time I do it, I get further tweaks, if you will, on things to remember for next year. But regardless, this year, how was the bird?
Delicious.
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 So
Truly.
let's watch the video,
Yep.
kind of give you a sense as to what goes into the process. But then I've got some more feedback on the back end. So let's see what we got here. Oh, nope. Where's my bird? Well, happy Thanksgiving, everyone. I'm going to do something that I didn't do last year. I actually forget what I did last year, but I typically make it a habit to deep fry turkey each year. If I don't do it every year, it's because we went somewhere for Thanksgiving. But this year we're home for Thanksgiving. We have friends and family coming in. So I wanted to give you an overview of what it takes to deep fry a turkey. First off, just if you've never deep fried one before, you are literally missing out. I grew up with my grandmother flipping turkeys upside down to keep the breasts in some moisture while it was baking in the oven. Never had the juiciness or the kind of lingering resiliency that deep frying a turkey does. So even if you're a big fan of leftovers, which I am, you get the benefit of moist leftovers for multiple days afterwards when you deep fry. So to kind of give you an overview, 3 gallons of peanut oil. Always use peanut oil because it cooks at a very high temperature, no risk of burning, the oil or otherwise. It has a great flavor, and in the scheme of oils, it's one of the more healthy oils. You're going to pay a little bit more for it, but and this year I'm only doing 1 bird. Some years I may do up to 3 or 4 turkeys that I'm deep frying because we're giving them away to different folks, or maybe somebody's having a function and wants an extra bird. So you can use this oil and put a number of birds into it. So that's one of the considerations for using high quality peanut oil. But I'm going to be using that. I also have over here, do this obviously outside because there's a safety risk here. I use some silicone gloves. This I got at a yard sale a number of years back ago from some friends of mine who weren't using it, and I've used it ever since, love it. But this will be deep enough to be able to put a bird in, and then I just hook up a propane tank to the burner, and I go outside with this and take care of the actual cooking there. Just to give you a sense, it's 11:40. Takes me about 45 minutes, 50 minutes from once the bird hits the oil to when it's done. So it's great because your day isn't tied up in doing a lot of the usual prep and waiting around. You get the benefit of a quick cook time, very fresh, very flavorful bird in very quick order. This year I'm doing a 23-pound bird. From at least my standpoint, that's pretty normal for us. Everybody loves turkey in our family, so we're fans of the leftovers. But I'll get into some of the details when I pick back up outside about how long I cook the bird for. I'll also add in my basic prep. You can see this bird here. Nothing's been done to it yet. I'll do a rub on the skin after I clean it up, and that rub will actually kind of take on its own life when it actually hits the oil. So you don't have to do a lot of your prep that you might usually when you're dealing with a bird. Now what you don't get is obviously stuffing. If you're a fan of that, you just have to prepare your stuffing separate. But if you just want an amazingly flavorful bird, absolutely recommend it. Totally. So we'll pick back up here shortly. Okay, so I'm gonna get things set up. While I'm setting up, I want to go over some of the basics of what you need to be prepared for. Got a thermostat. This thermostat will serve two purposes. It will help us monitor the temperature of the oil. Plus, I'll stick it into the bird to check the internal temperature of the bird. The oil, we'll want to keep it at about 375 degrees throughout. So I'll actually heat it up to a little bit over that, maybe just shy of 400. So that when I'm lowering that bird in, which I do on this thing, the bird will go on here and I'll drop it in. You do it very, 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 very slowly. Otherwise, there's a risk of it splattering out of the pot. But this will be what we use to monitor the temperature along the way. I'm going to just get the oil put in. We'll bring the temperature up, like I said, to over maybe just shy of 400. Now, for the bird itself, it's a 23-pound bird. Generally, and this is generic, you do the bird for about 3.5 minutes per pound. So this will be about an 80-minute or so cook time for the bird to be fully heated. The temperature internally will go up to about 165, 170 degrees. So I'll poke it both in the thigh and in the breast to check that my temperature, when I get to about maybe 75, 80 minutes, to check and see how close we are to getting the internal temperature of what we want it to be. But throughout, you have to monitor and adjust the temperature to keep it at that 375, which is the ideal oil temperature. All of that is to get us to an internal temperature of about 165, 170. But I will follow up with that. In the meantime, I'll give you kind of a brief walkthrough now of what I do to get these things prepped. So I use big, thick silicone gloves when I'm doing this. My temperature here, it actually went up a little over 400. So I turn the temperature and the overall heat down in anticipation now of actually putting the bird in. So I've obviously draped the bird over. The arms will get pinned in by the edges of the or the pot itself. But this is a slow, steady drop because this is hot oil. We'll get this bird in. Probably not something you should do with flip-flops on. The bird will raise the oil level. So that's why you got to be conscientious about just using the 3 gallons. It's not uncommon though to have a little pour over. So that's why I do it out on the concrete, you know, a little ways away from the house so that there's no fire issues. And there's no point in rushing this. You just take your time getting the bird all the way down. I heat it a little bit over where I want it at the 375 degrees. Because the bird, by putting it in, will cool the oil temperature down a fair amount. And remember, we want to put this one in for 80 minutes altogether. So it's going to be important to monitor oil temperature throughout the process to keep it at about 375. point, I've done a very good job of keeping the temperature at about 375. But I've got about, a little less than 5 minutes to go on the 80 minutes that we were monitoring. So what I'm looking to do now is simply go ahead. Let me actually get my gloves here. Go ahead and actually now poke into the bird to check the internal temperature, because our goal is to get it to about 170 degrees. So some people go into the thigh. I'm gonna check the deep part of the thigh real quick. And it's cool, you can actually see the temperature dropping down when I do that. It looks like the thigh is saying it's in good shape. So let's check the breast. There, let's see where we're at temperature-wise. Yeah, I'm thinking we're good to go. There's not any question about just being in the right range here. So I've got it done dirt.
Fabulous.
Yeah, it's gorgeous, the color of it.
Mm-hmm. Crispy skin.
Oh yeah. I'm going to go ahead and cut in so we can see how this one fared at the end of the day. We've got clearly very...
Isn't that crispiness?
Yeah, and the skin is amazing. You can see the juices kind of flowing out of this. Tender.
Moist.
Very moist. Beautiful. It's a different way to do it, but at the end of the day, if you want insanely tender turkey, there's simply nothing that'll compare to a deep fried piece. Let's see. Flux, why don't you come here and do a taste test for me? How much do you think?
Tastes like good turkey.
Okay, there we go. I think we succeeded here. Take care.
Tastes like good turkey.
There we go. And he had like food still from whatever he was doing.
Nutella.
Oh, was that
No,
the Nutella?
it's a beauty mark. My son has it.
No, he doesn't.
He's so
It's
handsome.
Nutella, now that you mention it. He made his own cookies that were actually amazing.
Oh, they were amazing.
So
and he made
what
a
did he-
cheesy broccoli too, which is almost one of my favorite dishes yesterday.
That was delicious, but he was very diligent and patient, but he was like doing cookie and then putting Nutella in the middle and then a second layer of
and then
cookie.
he rolled the little edges like a pie, crimped it like a pie.
Delicious though.
Oh, it was.
Yeah, very good. I only ate one because I was like, this is a little decadent, but it was delicious.
Yeah.
So that was one thing I will say. Turkey was delicious. The potatoes were delicious, made by Io. Her pecan pie. Io made pecan pie. Flux made the broccoli and cheese and the cookies. What
I
else?
also made brioche rolls.
Oh yeah, she did
Yeah.
make her rolls were amazing.
Yeah. And then,
So
and
what
then,
what did you focus on this year? It was great because you had all this help.
I know. I didn't have to do the whole meal. I made gravy, and the way I made the gravy is I cut a little bit of the neck skin off before it hit before the turkey hit the thing, and then I took the neck itself, fried them together with a little bit of olive oil to get them going, and that produced enough of the grease to then create a turkey gravy.
Yes, gravy was delicious.
And then I did a cranberry walnut bread, and then our guest did
Daniel did
a wonderful sweet potato
casserole.
casserole with those kind of
candied
pecans
what
on it,
have
just
you.
to die for.
Yeah, everything was amazing.
Everybody made something.
Yeah.
Everybody made something.
Yeah, very good. And it was nice, too, because like I said, usually we end up doing Thanksgiving. I swear, some years, like, I sit down, I'm like, okay, now we got to eat it. You know what I mean? It feels like such an endeavor, but with the kids all getting older and actually participating in it.
And doing their own thing. That was also, we didn't do our traditional cranberry sauce. We didn't do our traditional pumpkin pie. Oh, maybe I'll make you some more.
Oh, okay.
But I thought it was really neat because it was kind of like a new, fresh meal.
Yeah, no, it was all very good. So, the turkey, the whole process, you saw there was a little splatter that occurred, but it was nominal.
Strength, though. When I was putting that, I didn't watch him do it outside, but I watched as I'm putting the video together. The arm strength and the core strength to hold that 23-pound bird at your arms extended for as long as it took to drop it, buddy, that took strength. I was impressed.
I'm not a small guy.
I couldn't have done that
I think
under
it
my
looked a little...
best day.
So it's 23 pounds. We're not talking major, but yes, you do get to be patient. And if you do lack some upper body strength, get somebody who can lower it in
Real
slowly.
That
because
sound is that it erupts as it actually first hits.
Well, it's whatever water content is still in the bird is what is percolating out. That's why a lot of these videos where it basically turns into like a fire and burns people's kitchens, their garages, things of that nature, that's usually because they've got either frozen spots or they didn't thoroughly defrost the bird. So if you're going to do this, I think ours started frozen. But we got it like a week early. Yeah.
It hit the refrigerator.
Left it in the refrigerator. And so by the time it was actually done, you could tell there was nothing frozen left in it. Mm-hmm. So that's going to always be an important consideration. So either get a fresh bird or get a bird that you have allowed to sufficiently defrost.
Time.
Yeah, days in advance. And if you get it in short notice, put it out just on your kitchen counter to make sure that you get that
for a limited period of time. You can't do that for more than about 2 to 3 hours safely.
Sure, but if it's frozen,
to grow. If you haven't gotten it a week in advance and it's frozen,
there aren't any.
You out of luck.
Okay. Well, I'm being optimistic here, but the main point is that make sure that it's thoroughly defrosted. But as far as actually, going through the process, there wasn't anything major. You don't have to have some special skill, as folks very well know. I'm not someone who cooks regularly. The seasoning was literally just kind of a concoction. I literally went in.
Oh, that looks interesting.
I'm going to try this, try that. I think this year's experiment was to add some cayenne. It was a 100,000 HU cayenne, so a very kind of spicy cayenne. I didn't go overboard, like half a teaspoon, and I mixed it into the rub. But it was great because the skin, it absorbed all that. And so there was this just enough. It wasn't hot, but just enough residual flavor from that cayenne that...
It accented the other flavors.
Yeah, it did. And
I'm not a big cayenne fan
I did.
at all.
Garlic salt, Himalayan salt,
thyme,
pepper, thyme, oregano,
that was it.
The cayenne, and that was
it.
That was it? Nothing else? Oh, yeah, I said pepper. Yeah? Okay. So it wasn't even complicated, but I just added tablespoon, half tablespoon of the cayenne because it's a hot version. Mixed it up, rub. That was it. That was the extent of the preliminary prep, because once that all hits the actual oil, it then infuses. And so the bird's kind of saturating in that the entire time. So some of the things that I would have done differently this year is interesting. I've done this at 350 degrees before. This year I did it at 375. I know that one year I did it at 350, and someone who I gave the bird to said that it ended up being undercooked in certain spots. So you don't obviously want an undercooked bird. So I've started to skew towards maybe a hotter oil. I think next year I'm going to do maybe like 265 on my oil temperature. or actually 365, excuse me.
Okay.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, 365.
365 on my oil temperature. And also, I did 3.5 minutes per. I know other years I've done 3 minutes per.
Yeah.
So that's
Seems like
going to be
there's a sweet
something.
spot maybe in between.
Yeah. So
Not that the turkey was overdone. That's what was so
No,
surprising
yeah,
to me.
it
The temperature
wasn't
we were trying to
overdone.
reach was like 165 to 170, and I think we hit like
no, we went over it.
yeah, we hit like 220, 230.
I probably
240.
could have pulled the bird about 10 minutes beforehand, but I think this is the illustrative point. I was probably 10 minutes over in the scheme of what I could have pulled it out at.
And
And it was still tender. It was still
totally
delicious, still
And
juicy.
it's funny because the skin, I don't remember the skin being so crispy in the previous times, and that skin was really good when it got that crispy.
Yeah, it was.
Really
It felt
good.
kind of decadent and gluttonous because you're literally just taking turkey and skin and eating it like it's chips. But it was so flavorful.
It was.
It was good.
It was.
good. But I'm trying to think outside of that, everything was very smooth. The oil, one of the oils was left over from last year. So I only had to get 2 oils this year.
Peanut oil, if it's unopened, will last for about 2 years on the shelf. As long as you've kept it cool.
It will coagulate. It's like like a lot of oils that when it gets cool, I think we kept it in the basement. It coagulates at the bottom, but even if the oil's coagulated, just meaning thicker and milky looking, once you put it in, it heats up. Doesn't even matter.
Yeah.
Doesn't even matter. So don't let that appearance be a concern for you.
So buy your oil in July
Yeah,
when
by
nobody's
the way,
frying
it's
turkeys.
cheap and nobody cares about peanut oil in bulk. But yeah, I'm trying to think if there's anything more that I would have done other than just
I know I
regulate
haven't
temperatures.
cleaned it up yet. Have you cleaned it up yet?
Oh yeah, that is something I will point out. What I typically do, and I did mention this in the video. Some years I'll do 3 or 4 birds. So what I end up doing is that same batch of oil, you can just use it over and over and over again. You may, if you get like 4 birds in, you may need to top off a little oil. At some point, the levels will go down. So you may have to top off some oil, but not a lot. The oil stays pretty resilient as far as the volume overall. But outside of that, if you do a number of birds, you can get a lot of utility. You can actually make the most of it. Plus, if you're a fan of the leftovers, it's great because I think you mentioned.
Yeah, as quickly as this is a 23-pound turkey and it's almost gone.
Yeah.
I mean, and we're half a day into the second day after the first day after Thanksgiving. So I think next year we're going to
Just
2.
do 2 birds, one for the main meal, second day eating, and then for all the turkey sandwiches that you have over the next week, do that off of the second bird. But I don't know. I'm very, very happy with it. It's one of those things that it's funny. Because I don't cook a lot, having a little area of like that's what I do is somewhat satisfying.
I'm learning that it's just about finding something unique that makes it a hobby that he's got to learn, and then he'll cook.
Yeah. Well, and you watch the other. What was that? I did the tenderloin.
Yeah.
So that came
you
out.
You should do this for the show. Ooh, new hobby.
I don't know about hobby. That was a commitment. That was more of a commitment than doing the deep fried turkey.
You think so?
Yeah. Doing the tenderloin.
Okay.
Tenderloin is amazing, don't get me wrong. But the deep fried turkey, I think just now it's kind of systematized.
Yeah.
Oh, we got sidetracked though. The oil.
Yeah.
When you're done with the oil, just let it cool off. Mine's still sitting out on the deck.
Don't say that.
What? No, you let it cool off because what's it do? This is a winter year, and you'll notice in the video I didn't put on a hoodie because I was concerned about oil splash or anything. The beginning of the day yesterday, it was like balmy.
Yeah, it was lovely.
And then literally like within an
We started to
hour,
wonder if it would snow.
yeah, we thought it was going to snow on us. So regardless, the oil cooled down pretty quickly, but it like I mentioned before, coagulates. And so it's kind of nice because you can just get like a heavy-duty trash bag or something and scoop the stuff out. So it's easy. Cleanup isn't bad. You rinse the thing out. The pot isn't like your fancy, nice, cooking pot. So you don't have to get all crazy about maintenance. You just keep it clean. And, if you clean it up at the end of the turkey, deep frying season, cover it, put it, in your basement or wherever. Pull it back out, give it a quick rinse, make sure no bugs have parked in it over the year, and you're good to go. So it's easy cleanup, actually, so long as you're not out of control with it. And outside of that, what are the drawbacks?
None.
I can't really
cleanup.
think of any.
Cleanup is the only thing that's kind of
Well, just
rough.
getting rid of the oil.
Yeah. Well, it's a big pot, so I got a short arm. So.
Oh, is that what it is?
Yeah.
Well, it's, it's
Look
tall.
how much longer your arms are. Jeez.
Well, they're not going to get us sense of that. Here, let me show you how big it is now. But no, it's not that bad. And if you have kids around, just make it their chore. Yeah.
Especially as they grow up and they're home from school.
But either way, I can't think of any actual drawbacks.
No.
And mind you, this all started as literally a fluke.
A lark.
Yeah. And now I'm like actually committed to
Totally.
it. I can't, and I go other places, have turkey, and I'm like,
Not as good as mine.
it's so dry. Oh my goodness. Can you believe
I wonder if
this?
there are other things we can deep fry in there. Do you think we could deep fry a roast?
We've learned in the South, if it's edible, you can deep fry it. Now, I think
Do
it'd be...
maybe like wrap it in a dough and do a fried version of Chateaubriand or something like that.
Why would you waste good meat on that?
That's not good meat. I mean, that's not a bad use of that meat.
No? Okay.
No. That's like a formal Christmas dinner where you have the roast and it's wrapped. You coat it first in all sorts of wonderful things. It could be like a mushroom or a, paste or something like that, and then you wrap it in a dough, and then you bake it traditionally.
You're thinking deep fry it.
I'd have to figure out how to do that.
And
Imagine if
the
you
temperature
froze
stuff,
it.
because a lot of the beef, you actually want it tender in the middle.
Yeah, you don't want it to. So it would cook the dough very quickly, and I don't know. I'm halfway curious.
So it's about timing, but what about the sad experiments along the way when you're like...
Listen, as long as it's not the fires, the gigantic fire thing, I think we're fine.
Okay. So, I don't know. Maybe we'll experiment? I don't know. That seems like an expensive commitment. Yeah. But if you haven't tried deep fried Oreos.
There you go.
That would
with
be
your
fun.
deep fried turkey.
That would actually be fun.
A whole bunch of deep fried Oreos.
Yes. Heart healthy. Either way, I think that's it.
I think that's it for tonight.
Yeah. So, show after Thanksgiving. This will be actually interesting heading into the run up to Christmas now, because I can tell you now there will be certain weeks that we're not going to be doing a show.
It's always
just
a
because
sprint in the office
Yeah.
to get to the end of the year. Everybody wants everything done before
Yeah.
the end of the year.
And for anybody that has any loved ones who might be a little loose in life, tell them to start planning now to not get in trouble, and that way they don't need to be in jail for Christmas.
And need a bond to get out.
Yeah, it's amazing. The few days before Christmas, they're very adamant about wanting to get out of jail, but the 2 weeks before where they were getting in trouble, they weren't anticipating this.
It's job security.
But I feel for these folks.
Of course you do. That's why you're such a great lawyer.
Just don't get in trouble. Be cool. Be out for Christmas. But either way, so it'll be a little mixed as far as our ability to do the regular Friday show, which is quasi-regular.
Yeah.
We're pretty good about it.
Pretty good.
But regardless, every Friday we kick off at 7:30. So if you know anyone that might be interested to watch the live portion, tell them to check us out. The live is always very kind of fluid. Yeah. Sometimes there's technical difficulties where we're like, we'll edit that out.
I don't know, just go start again.
Any subjects that we cover, we obviously break those out and do the standalone videos. So if the technical difficulties are impeding you for enjoying the live stream, don't worry.
Just check
we'll
back.
do. we'll do the videos. But also, not only just letting folks know that we're doing this,
subscribe. Well, our numbers are doing this. It's real nice to see.
Yeah,
So
and it's very kind of organic and incremental for us. But it's one of those things, you go and you just do it, and then someday it takes off.
Yep.
So we get to be patient with it, and I'm enjoying it. I think that's the most important part.
Yeah.
Like today, we started the show. I was like whooped. I was like, but you get into it, you kind of have fun, and it brings on its own vitality and energy.
Yep.
So yeah, like, subscribe, do all of that. But outside of that, I think we're good. So hope everybody enjoyed their Thanksgiving, and we look forward to seeing everybody, I guess, next week.
Yeah,
we're here.
I think we'll be here. I think we'll be here next week.
I don't have any real plans other than being here. So hey, we will see you. Thank you.
Okay.
And outside of that, cheers.
Cheers.
Bye-bye.
Bye.